Good morning, everyone. I am Bob Sherrill, and coming to you from our sanctuary in Farmington, New Mexico. This is the San Juan Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. My program for this 22nd of June, 2025 is titled Reason and Reverence. It comes from a book of the same title by William Murray. I hesitated to give this program because it describes two varieties of humanism. I feel very cautious about any isms. Any ism you can think of, conservatism, liberalism, communism, feminism, is a quick, convenient way to organize a constellation of beliefs and attitudes. However, if we subscribe to any ism, we run the risk of drifting into a fixed, defiant certainty that our ism is a superior explanation of important parts of human existence, in contrast to the sadly misinformed isms held by others. With some hesitancy, today I'm going to talk about humanistic religious naturalism. That is a very academic, abstract mouthful, and anytime I say it, I begin to get a few symptoms of post-academia stress disorder. However, I will go ahead. Someone from academia said he seemed to laugh. I decided to go ahead and talk about humanism because humanistic views are an important part of our Unitarian Universalist tradition. Beginning in 1916, a few Unitarian ministers began to promote what they called a religion without God. It was strictly human-centered, scientifically minded, ethically focused. It emphasized that each of us is personally responsible for what we do and become, not just following divine commandments, and that immortality is found in the examples we set and in the work we do. As our son Ryan sometimes says, what we do in this life resonates in eternity. So as an example of an early humanist influence, here's a piece of a sermon by UU minister Curtis Reese in 1920. This calls to stir, as we'll see. You will notice that it is flowery and dramatic. We understand spirituality to be man at its best, sane in mind, healthy in body, dynamic in personality, honestly facing the hardest facts, conquering and not fleeing from his gravest troubles, committed to the most worthful causes, loyalty to the best ideals, ever hoping, striving, and achieving, to know oneself as inherently worthy, actually to find fullest expression in the widest human service, and consciously to become a co-worker with cosmic processes is spiritual experience deep and abiding. Imagine hearing that in 1920. Early interest in humanism in 1933 with the publication of the Humanist Manifesto. Classical humanism has been criticized for being too intellectual, even arrogant, and too quickly dismissive of the vast non-cognitive realms of human experience. Here, remember how years ago, the services here at the fellowship were very dry and intellectual. It was a huge step for us when a family donated a piano, and we began to sing on Sunday morning. The Humanist Manifesto has been revised twice now. So there is now a Humanist Manifesto Roman numeral 3. If you'd like to, I have a copy of it. If you'd like to find it on the internet, look on Humanist Manifesto 3. With that introduction, I will describe what William Murray means by reason and reverence. He writes, some time ago, a neighbor, upon learning that I was a humanist, asked me what that meant. I replied that humanism refers to the affirmation of the worth and dignity of the person, a commitment to human betterment, and the necessity for human beings to take responsibility for themselves and for the world. Sounds like I'm a humanist too, he said, seeming surprised. In this broad meaning of humanism, millions of people are humanists who do not identify as such, and humanist values permeate our cultural institutions. I explained to my neighbor there are many kinds of humanism. For example, in the Humanist Manifesto number 3 makes reference to we are guided by reason, inspired by compassion, and informed by experience. It talks about the values and ideals, the value of inner experience, it refers to the global ecosystem, finding the wonder and awe and the joys and beauties of existence, describing toward a world of mutual care and concern. So we hear some modern shifting away from the strictly human, strictly intellectual emphasis of the original. I explained to my neighbor that there are many kinds of humanism. Religious humanism is a life stance that exults in being alive in this unimaginably vast and breathtaking universe, and finds joy and satisfaction in contributing to human betterment without a creed, but with an emphasis upon reason, passion, community, nature, and social responsibility. It is a way of living that answers the religious and spiritual needs of the day. A new humanism is emerging among Unitarian universalists, a religious humanism grounded in the larger context of religious naturalism. Notice another visit. A religious humanism that offers depth, meaning, and purpose without sacrificing intellectual honesty or the spiritual dimension. Religious naturalism is a perspective that finds meaning in the natural world and rejects the notion of the supernatural realm. I espouse a perspective that I call humanistic religious naturalism. It rejects the supernatural and maintains that there is only one reality, the natural universe. Early humanism has historically been too human-centered, whereas for humanistic religious naturalism, it is nature rather than mankind that is the ultimate. This lays the foundation for a strong environmental ethic, necessity in a world threatened by environmental destruction. It gives spiritual depth in the language of reverence, both of which many miss in religious humanism. It provides a meaningful story, the epic evolution, provides a foundation for a more open, less rationalistic, and more inclusive humanism that speaks to the heart and soul, not just to the intellect. At the same time, naturalism in itself is not a sufficient source of religious meaning, because nature is morally neutral or simply immoral. Its only value would seem to be creativity. Nature has produced what we perceive as the magnificence of the universe. Through evolution, it created humankind, who in turn develops moral principles. But nature's rain falls on the just and unjust. Disease and death afflict everyone, regardless of character. Nature knows nothing of justice, of kindness, or generosity. Humanism, with its conviction of the dignity and value of all humans, all that follows from this principle, provides the values which naturalism alone lacks. Myths and stories are important to religion, for they speak to our subconscious minds and therefore affect us at a deep level, influence our basic assumptions and attitudes. Humanistic religious naturalism has stories that serve the same function as myths, providing a narrative understanding, origin, and meaning of the universe and of human life. One of these is the story of cosmic and biological evolution. It is a story of the creative, emergent powers of nature, and that story continues today in the form of moral, spiritual, social, cultural evolution that human creativity is now bringing about. The second story, one consistent with the values of humanism, is the remarkable history of the expansion of human freedom in the world, both religious and social and political. Now, humanism has long been a target of the religious right. Several years ago, the Reverend Tim LaHaye claimed that, quote, humanists are the mortal enemy of all pro-moral Americans and the most serious threat to our nation in its entire history. LaHaye is a leading evangelical minister and co-author of the Left Behind series. LaHaye, Jerry Falwell, and others have brought humanism for everything they believe along with America, such as reproductive choice, anti-poverty programs, the feminist movement, gay rights movement, laws against compulsory prayers in public schools, gun control, and sexuality. They are both right and wrong. They are dead wrong in calling humans a threat to the nation's morality, for humanism is a highly ethical way of life. But they are correct, giving humanists credit for bringing about social change. It is my conviction that in this empirical age, humanistic religious naturalism can and should be our Unitarian Universalist trait. I believe that a viable religion for the 21st century must include the following 5 characteristics. First is the affirmation that human beings are an integral part of nature. We are not separate and distinct from the rest of the natural world. We are part and parcel of it. We are related to every living creature, both plant and animal. The elements of which we are composed, carbon, calcium, and iron, are the same elements of which the rest of the universe is made. The second characteristic follows from the first. We are not dominant in nature as we once believed. We are its stewards and trustees. A religion of the future will affirm mankind's responsibility to preserve and sustain the natural world. The future of life on this planet, indeed of the planet itself, depends on this. Third, any viable future religion must take seriously implications for religion, remarkable discoveries of modern natural and human sciences. The world of modern science is a different world from that of our ordinary perceptions than that of the ancient peoples who gave birth to Western religions. The religion of the future should be a religion that learns from science and adapts its teachings accordingly. And since every religion needs a story, the story of the religion of the future will be a scientific story with its significance. Fourth, such a religion will recognize the importance of both reason and reverence. The human ability to think critically and constructively has made possible many of our artistic achievements and medical and technological advances, but it is only reverence, understood as feelings of respect and awe, that can save us from the hubris that would destroy all the good we have accomplished. As Paul Woodruff writes in his elegant little book, Reverence, Renewing a Forgotten Virtue, quote, reverence begins in a deep understanding of human limitations. He goes on to note that reverence keeps human beings from trying to act like gods. It is thus essential to our true humanity. I also think a strong case can be made that lack of reverence is a major cause of all forms of human violence throughout history and in family and community life as well, with respect to the natural environment. And while reverence is not only a religious quality, a religion without a profound sense of reverence is no religion at all. Finally, the religion of the future must affirm those values that help make our lives meaningful. In her spiritual autobiography, Spiral Staircase, Karen Armstrong writes, quote, in the course of my studies, I have discovered that the religious quest is not about discovering truth or the meaning of life, but instead about living life as intensely as possible, here and now. The idea is not to latch on to some superhuman personality or to get to heaven, but to discover how to be fully human. This is precisely what humanistic religious naturalism is all about. Becoming more fully human involves the transformation of mind and heart from self-centeredness to a sense of oneself as part of a larger sacred whole and a deep community to the natural and human worlds. It is about the transformation from the shallow life of fear, greed, hedonism, and materialism to a meaningful life of love and caring, gratitude and generosity, fairness and equity, joy and hope, and a profound respect for others. Humanistic religious naturalism promotes an ethical life in which one thinks and acts from a larger perspective than one's individualist interests. A life that affirms the worth and dignity of each person. A life filled with wonder and reverence for the extraordinary magnificence of the natural world and its creations. It includes gratitude for the gift of life itself, for the capacity to enjoy it. To be fully human is to develop and use our minds, but not to neglect our emotions and intuitions. For me, it is a religious responsibility and joyful challenge to learn all I can about human beings, the world in which we live, and to think critically and constructively about what I learn. But we are also emotional beings who use our feelings in service of the best of self. A fully human person has both an open mind and a warm heart, as well as a social conscience. As Bertrand Russell suggested, the good life is one guided by reason and motivated by love. The grounding of religious humanism, religious naturalism, makes it possible to affirm a perspective that includes these 5 characteristics, and thus qualifies as religion for the 21st century. As Carl Sagan wrote, quote, a religion that stressed the magnificence of the universe as revealed by modern science might be able to draw forth reserves of reverence and awe, hardly tapped by the conventional faiths. Sooner or later, such a religion will emerge. Human religious naturalism is just such a religion. I believe that it is emerging among us today. This morning, our closing song is number 207.
No closing words?
I'm sorry.
I was waiting for closing, but that's fine.